Hello, everybody. Welcome to the GM Sports Report, your weekly podcast on all things sports where every play counts. I'm Grant, and I'm here with my co host Mason as we get ready to cover the latest news, headlines, and upcoming events going on in the sports world. Make sure to like, comment, and subscribe to see all things GM Sports Report. Mason, how are you doing today?
I'm doing great, Grant. Gators won last night. Been watching them my whole life. Been with them every step of the way.
Yeah, you watched all the
That's a
regular
lie.
season games? And did you just start
No,
watching
that's a
March
lie. That's a
Madness?
lie. But yeah, no, it was a great win. I can't wait to talk about it.
Yeah, they looked really good last night. And like you said, we'll be getting into that as we will with a bunch of other news because this has been a busy week in the sports world. And so,
Yeah.
with that being said, we'll get started with our hot take and underdog of the week. So, Mason, I'll let you go ahead and start with your hot take.
Yeah, so my hot take, if you really think about it and kind of just sit down and reflect, this past year of championships in sports, professional sports, three out of the four champions, I think, are just horrible in my opinion. It's just been it's pretty rough for I guess just the regular fans, because you look at NBA, you get Boston Celtics winning. I know there's a lot of people who don't like Boston Celtics, us included, and then you get Philly for the Eagles winning the NFL championship, and you know how I feel about them. And I'm sure this is one thing I gotta say is that if the Chiefs weren't on like going for a three-peat, I think that most of the NFL fan bases would be against Philly winning. Um, so that's the second team. And then MLB, the Dodgers beat the Yankees. That one, I think a lot of people didn't really think too much of it, just entirely because, the Yankees are kind of hated just because of their fan bases. And then you get Dodgers who, everyone feels like that they're just all that. So I mean, yeah, and then NHL, Panthers won. They won their first, so that's not really too like criticizing or whatever. But yeah, so just the three of the four, the four major sports, I think it's been pretty rough as just regular fans to watch.
Yeah, I agree. I think that's a good take. I know I definitely didn't want to see the Boston Celtics winning a championship. And
Hmm.
for NFL and MLB, I looked at that as a fan as a lose lose situation because I didn't like either teams in those
Yeah.
championships. Obviously, I would have preferred the Yankees beating the Dodgers, but Dodgers won, and then I think I preferred the Eagles winning the Chiefs. But like you said, if it wasn't for the
Right.
three-peat that they were going for, it might have been different. So yeah, it's been brutal, and hopefully these upcoming championships that are coming up with NBA and we got baseball in the
Hmm.
full swing of things now. So hopefully some new teams can take a title and make things interesting.
Yep.
My hot take of the week, I don't know how well this is going to go over with people. This is just how I feel personally. I felt like March Madness this year was not as entertaining as it's been in previous years. Um, After the first few rounds, there wasn't really any too crazy upsets like those big upsets that we see all the time. I mean, obviously we had the Houston beating Duke, which was huge and uh, not expected at all. But other than that, like the Final Four was all the one seeds. There didn't seem like any of those iconic buzzer beaters that there usually is in March Madness, or like those giant comebacks or close games that come down to the end or overtime thrillers. It just didn't really feel like there was too much of that. But yeah, that's just kind of my hot take. I don't know how you felt about March Madness this year. I just personally felt like it wasn't as good as it's been for previous years.
Yeah. I completely, I see where you're coming from with that. I just it's hard to say that it's a great March Madness when all the favorites are winning, especially in the deep stretch of things. You get the Final Four, the four favored teams, all the one seeds. So it's kind of hard, I guess, to root for somebody if you don't have a team in it. So yeah, I get what you're saying.
Yeah, and another thing that kind of proves my point is, it's not that good of a March Madness when you and me were able to pick the championships from before the tournament even started. Who hadn't watched a single second of college basketball? We
Yeah,
both picked Florida,
yeah.
and we were correct. And if we're correct, that means you're doing something wrong, March Madness. No, I'm just joking, but
It's
yeah, that's my hot take for this week. And now we'll
yeah.
slide into the underdog of the week, and I'll let you go ahead and take that away.
Yeah, I'll go with the guy who has really stepped up for us in left field. and that's Trent Grisham with the New York Yankees. He's batting 423 this season, 11 hits, 3 home runs, 9 RBIs, and 1308 on base slugging. So it's honestly been very like just great to see that that hole is just not fit, like been left unattained with Soto leaving. His fielding's pretty good. I don't know if I'd say it's better than Soto's, but I don't see it contradicting too much. But it's not as great as of a bat as Soto's, but he's definitely stepped up from last year.
Nice. I also went baseball, and I went with a player that used to be a pretty big name, but over the past few years hasn't been talked about as much, and that's George Springer. This season, he's starting out with a 455 batting average. He has 15 hits, 8 RBIs, 5 runs scored, and 1 home run in 11 games played. So he's off to a red hot start for the Toronto Blue Jays. And yeah, Astros fans, I'm sorry, but the former Astros have been balling this season. Obviously, we saw Tucker and Bregman win
Yeah,
Players of the Week for AL and NL. And now looking at it, you see George Springer off to an amazing start. So cover your eyes, Astros fans. It's looking rough.
yeah, I know.
But yeah, that's my underdog of the week.
That's funny because if you think about it, it's like Dallas is going through it in Texas, with all
Hmm.
the football and basketball, and now Houston's going through it with, they're not as big of a loss because they're still winning games, but see guys leave and just win, Player of
Right.
the Week, second weekend, it's kind of rough.
Yeah. At least they got the Rangers and Rockets, I guess, that are looking
Yeah,
promising.
yeah.
All right, now speaking of NBA, we're gonna slide over and do what we do every week with our player of the week and team of the week. So Mason, I'll let you go ahead and start with a player of the week.
So my player of the week, I feel like he hasn't been talked about enough just because of the how tight that 1 and 2 spot for the MVP race is. But I'm gonna go with Giannis. 4-0 in the last four, 36 points per game, 12 rebounds per game, and 13 assists per game. And he's just been solid. Undeniably third in the MVP race. And yeah, he's just week in week out. He's put up great numbers.
Yeah, when a guy averages a 36-point triple double, it's hard to not pick them for player of the week. So I
Yeah.
also went with Giannis. And like you said, towards the start of the season, before it had gotten to like a really just a two-person MVP race, I
Hmm.
was really pushing the Giannis as MVP agenda during the first couple months of the season. But obviously, as time went on, that's kind of
Yeah.
slowed down. But Giannis is just having a great season this year, and with Damian Lillard going down, it's going to be interesting to see how the Bucks do come playoff time. I don't know if they'll be able to
Hmm.
make a lot of noise or not, but any team with Giannis on it is a threat, in my opinion. He's just that good of a player. I think he's the best player in the Eastern Conference. I'll stand on that. And yeah, I went with Giannis for my player of the week as well. So
Nice.
now I'll let you go ahead and pick your team of the week.
All right, team of the week is another kind of is a team who I has gotten a lot of recognition in the first half of the season, and then they kind of just I guess got stuffed under the rug, and that's the Houston Rockets. They've been solid all year, and I think just coming down the stretch, people just kind of stopped talking about them. I'm honestly not too sure why. 8-2 in last 10, 3 game win streak. They're still here to play. I think they're currently second seed in the West, if I'm not mistaken. Um, but yeah, they're killing it, and I'm excited to see what they do come playoff time.
Yeah, I mean, I've been very high on the Houston Rockets as well all season long. And I think the reason why noise might have quieted down a little bit is a mix of a few things. I mean, they had a couple injuries with Amen Thompson and Fred VanVleet going in and out of the
Hmm.
lineup. But then also, you look at the West during the trade deadline, there's some big acquisitions going on in the West that makes them start talking about other teams like the Warriors, and the Kings had made
Yeah.
that trade for Zach LaVine, and all these other things that came into play. So I think it was a mix of a lot of things for Houston. I also think Houston's just not as flashy to the media as other teams are. They're just like a lot
Yeah.
of young guys that are playing really well. They don't have like that superstar. I think Alfred Şengün and Jalen Green are well on their way to becoming one, but they don't
Hmm.
have that like solidified star. So I think it's not as sexy, I guess, for the media. But yeah, I'm high on Houston, so I'm always going to
Yeah.
be happy when someone picks them for team of the week. My team of the week is a team that I feel like has not been talked about at all this year, even though they were in the Eastern Conference Finals last year, and that's the Indiana Pacers. 8-2 in their last 10, and it looks like Halliburton's starting to heat up, and that team's always going to be a threat on the offensive end. It's just a matter of if they're going to be able to defend or not. So it's going to be interesting to see how they close out this season because I think it's them, Milwaukee, and Detroit are all pretty close with each other. So it'll be
Yeah.
interesting to see who matches up against who in the first round. And I think Pacers match up well against some teams. I think they match up well against the Knicks. So that'll be interesting to see if we get a rematch with that series.
I
And
think
yeah, I mean,
Orlando's in that mix as well.
or yeah, I think Orlando is locked in play in actually. The play-in teams are all locked.
Oh,
So
okay.
Orlando,
Okay.
Atlanta, Chicago, and the Heat are all locked in for the
Oh,
play-in.
right. Yeah.
But yeah, we'll see what happens. And Pacers 8-2 in their last 10, so that's good enough to get me a pick. And one real quick, for team of the week, this is kind of my not team of the week. I was
I
looking
was
at
gonna
their
pick
last
them
10 game
too. I
records.
was gonna pick them
Did
too.
you see the Philadelphia
Yeah.
Sixers are 0
Yeah.
10
I was
in their
gonna
last
say
10 games?
they're 0
Wow.
12 actually. 12-game losing
That's
streak.
brutal. I mean, I
I was
knew they
gonna
were
say
bad,
like a
but
not top 10. Yeah.
yeah, yeah. I feel like that
I
deserves
was
some
waiting.
recognition right there because all the media
Absolutely.
was hyping them up, as we know, once they got Paul
Yeah.
George. Do you think they move on from Paul George? I think they have to. There's no way they keep
Yeah,
him.
absolutely. This is just they gave him a 1-year stint. I'm honestly I'd love to see some speculation about like around Embiid. I know he's on a big contract, I think, so I don't think they do anything with him, but I'd love to see some, criticism, like some actual criticism rather than
Yeah,
some,
for sure.
social media stuff. So I'd love to really see the NBA pressers kind of get on him or whoever in the front office about him playing games. So
Yeah, they got a lot of change that needs to come their way if they want to be
yeah.
successful.
Yep.
All right, and lastly for the NBA, obviously this is the last week of the season, which is just crazy. I feel like this NBA season just flew by.
Blue.
Um,
Yeah.
where I just kind of want to get like a touch base on, your Knicks and my Heat. I just want to get our opinions on where our team stands right now heading into the last week and what our expectations are for the future. So I'll let you go ahead and take that since you have the more competitive team with the Knicks. So go ahead.
So yeah, I think with another win and a Pacers loss, the Knicks are locked in at 3, which is a good spot to be in. And I also feel good where the Knicks are. Uh, we really turned it around the past 2 weeks. We have a big test tonight against Boston Celtics. We have a pretty bad track record this season against them in Cleveland. So hopefully we can just at least put up a fight. That's all I ask. I know I say that every
Yeah.
time we play against them, but we have Brunson back, which has been great. This is going to be his second game back. OG has been amazing offensively. Just that's been so refreshing to see because in the middle of the season he could not hit a three to save his life. So for him to drop like 30 points, every other week, it's been amazing. And then Josh Hart finally finding his rhythm, not only just defensively and offensively, just like around the whole part of it. He's getting his assists in, rebounds. There's a stretch where he was getting like a triple double every other night. So yeah, I'm honestly happy where we are.
Nice. I'll head to the more negative side of things, and that's with my Miami Heat. This season has just been an absolute roller coaster. If you would have told me before the
Yeah.
season started that Jimmy Butler was going to get traded, I would have probably laughed in your face, but here we are. And it's kind of hard to pick like a side of where I feel right now because their highs are so high, but their lows are
Hmm.
like some of the lowest I mean, as we've seen with that 10-game losing streak being the worst in Spoelstra's career, the worst since 2008. So there's some really bad lows, but there is some positives. Wiggins is a really good player. When we got him in this trade, he's been averaging 21 points per game. Bam has had a phenomenal second half of the season. I don't know the exact stats of what he's averaging, but I'm sure it's got to be close to like 22 points and 10 rebounds since the second half. And then Hero obviously is having a phenomenal season. So um, it's hard because I really obviously I want to cheer for my team and I want them to win, but knowing that if they don't make the playoffs, we get a top 10 pick and the Warriors pick in this absolutely loaded draft. That's always nice to see. for building your future. But also, it's going to be hard for me to like cheer for my team to lose. Like I don't know if I'm quite there yet. So I'm kind of just kind
Mhm.
of watching and enjoying each game as it comes, having fun with each game. And I think I will say this for the Heat, they have something with their role players. I really hope they keep some of these guys around. Davion Mitchell needs to be locked down in the Heat uniform for a long time. That dude is an absolute dog. He's the exact person you want on a championship team. And I would even say if there's a chance to keep Wiggins around, keep Wiggins. I think he's very good, and I think he'd be amazing in a championship contender team as a role player. So I think they have some positives moving forward. You finally have some financial freedom. You have some draft picks. Maybe you can go out and get a superstar. So I wouldn't say all is doom and gloom in the Heat, but as far as this season, I don't really expect us to win anything. If we do make it through the play-in, I kind of expect us to lose in the first round. But you never know. We've made it out of the play-in and made it to the finals before, so who knows what'll happen. But yeah,
Mhm.
that's kind of where I stand.
Nice.
All right, so now we're going to go ahead and go over to the MLB. And a big headline came out a couple of days ago. Vladimir Guerrero Jr. has signed a 15-year, $500 million contract extension. Mason, I just wanted to get what your thoughts are on that real quick.
Yeah, good for him. Toronto, I think, needs a guy like him to just stick around because he's really been the face of that team for, you know, the past few years. I thought the Yankees were honestly going to try and pursue him again. I know that there was kind of a bit of a bad blood between us and him, so I guess that ship just sailed, which is fine. Um, but yeah, hopefully he's good, but not too good to where he wins a lot of games in Toronto because we are still in the same division. But yeah.
Yeah, kind of what you were saying. I was starting to think he was going to go to a different team. There was a lot of
Hmm.
rumors at the trade deadline last year, the Cubs, the Yankees. I think it was maybe the Red Sox. I'm not 100% sure. There was a few teams that were like
Yeah.
looking at him and seeing. But at the end of the day, Vladimir Guerrero wanted his money, and the Blue
Hmm.
Jays wanted to lock in a franchise player, and that's so. In my opinion, this is a win-win for both the player and the franchise. I don't really think that Vlad wanted to leave the Blue Jays. I think he
Yeah.
just wanted his money, and the Blue Jays being willing to give it, I think it's a win-win. Now you got your franchise player for the next 15 years if that's what you want, and Vladimir Guerrero gets super rich, so it's a win for everyone.
Yeah.
And
Yep.
I think the Blue Jays need to get some pieces around Vladimir Guerrero. I think that he's a really good franchise player, but I don't think the roster is good enough right now to compete for anything.
Yeah.
So it'll be interesting to see what happens with their future. All right. So now, okay, yeah. Now the next point in the MLB, I want to know what team has caught your eyes or caught you by surprise so far this season. It could be a good way or a bad way. I just want to know what's kind of shocked you to start this season.
Yeah, so I have two. I have one for good and one for bad, and I'll start with the good first. I'll say the Giants, San Francisco Giants, holding their ground in the very tough division. I think they're right in the mix between that first and third seed in there with the Dodgers, Padres. I hope they can keep the wins coming because they are a team that I think everyone kind of ruled out in the beginning of the season just because of how stacked that division is. And then the bad, undoubtedly, I think has to go to the Braves. Worst record in baseball at 1-9. They've been given a really hard, difficult card to start the season off with. Facing the Padres in the first series, Dodgers in the second, and then they finally get a win in Miami or against Miami, just to now have to play Philly. So we'll see if they can straggle a few wins in the next week or two. So, yeah.
Yeah, I picked a good and a bad, and I picked the exact same teams. The Giants, I mean, they're in such a stacked division, and for them to start out the
Yeah,
season
yeah,
8-2 and first place in that division right now is pretty impressive. I don't think anyone would have thought that even this early
yeah.
on. And bad, like you said, Atlanta 1-8. My goodness, that is just brutal. I saw something saying when a team starts like that bad, none of them have made the playoffs. So we'll see if they can turn that around. They're just a team
Hmm.
that hasn't been able to catch a break the last couple seasons. We'll see if their luck can change and change fast. But like you said, going against the Phillies, it's not looking too good for their future.
Yeah.
All right. And now we're going to do a player of the week for the MLB. So, Mason, I'll let you go ahead and start with that.
Actually, I want to let you go ahead because I think we picked the same guy.
All right. Well,
I know.
obviously, for player of the week, there was
I
really only
know.
one correct answer, if you ask me, and that is the Chicago Cubs superstar, Kyle Tucker. He won NL Player of the Week. Listen to this. In the NL so far this season, he leads in hits, home runs, OPS, RBI, B WAR, F WAR, and last week he batted 391 with three doubles, three home runs, eight RBIs, and a 1.461 OPS. This dude is just insane. Cubs fans are thrilled right now. We haven't had this level of superstar since Chris Bryant was on this team. And it's like just a different feeling. Like now I know how you feel when Aaron Judge comes
Mhm.
up to bat and
Yeah.
stuff like that. We
It's
like
just like
having
that's
a guy that comes up to bat and you know there's a good chance that he's going to do something big. It's
mhm.
just an amazing feeling. He single-handedly won us games this year, and I don't know if we're going to re-sign him. I don't want to even like worry about that right now. I just want to enjoy him as the player he is and having a superstar on this Cubs team, because who knows, this could be the only season he's here, and it very well might be with how
Yeah.
these contracts are getting handed out. But man, I'm enjoying it right now, and I think it's only right to pick him as player of the week.
Yeah.
So that's who you picked as well, I'm assuming.
Yeah, yeah, I did. I couldn't really go against it. Just kind of seeing what he did in the NL. It just he's been balling, nothing short of that. And I kind of want to give props on the same team to Seiya too, because I think he's taken a big step up from last year, if I'm not mistaken.
Hmm.
Because like it's almost every other night, it's like you just text me with like a big Seiya bomb or something. So it's
Yeah.
cool to see that as well.
So this is what I will say about that. Seiya has, like you said, started out the season great. And when Kyle Tucker was first acquired, a lot of Cubs fans were excited about this for Seiya Suzuki, because just having that
Hmm.
guy that bats in front of you and Kyle Tucker, when a pitcher is so worried about Kyle Tucker, that means Seiya Suzuki might get a fastball right down the middle in his at bat, and he'll be able to
Yeah.
capitalize on it. They're more focused on Kyle Tucker, which helps Seiya Suzuki a lot more. So yeah, he's had a great start to this season and has taken full advantage of that. So yeah, I'm glad you mentioned that, because having a guy like Kyle Tucker helps him out so much, and it helps out a lot of other guys. I mean, Dansby Swanson's off to a
Yep.
great start. Nico Horner off to a great start. A lot of the Cubs bats are off to a great start, but yeah, I really hope we can extend him. But for right now, I'm
Yeah.
just gonna enjoy what he's bringing to the table.
Nice.
All right. So now we're going to go ahead and slide over the March Madness, because the championship game was played last night. It was Florida versus Houston, and Florida came back and won that game. I think that's who most people had winning this game. But Mason, I'll let you kind of take over on this one. I just want to get your thoughts on this game and, what you thought of it.
Yeah, yeah. So honestly, to start the game, the first half, I was like kind of just watching to feel it out. It seemed like it was a very even mashup, just from the tip off. So I think that was very exciting just as a basketball fan. And then the second half came around, and to start it off, I think it was like the first 5 or 10 minutes, they were up by Houston was up by 12. So I remember just telling you like, oh man, I can't believe Houston's really about to win. But we've as we've seen throughout this whole tournament, no matter how much Florida's down, they're always going to find a way to climb back up. Walter Clayton kind of does what he does. And actually, I think the biggest turnaround from this game to all the other prior games were the made free throws, because throughout the whole tournament, they just have not been hitting their free throws, and it's been almost costing them just because of how close those games have been. So finally, they hit their free throws. They don't make stupid turnovers and play the defense when they need to. And then we saw what happened. They came out to win. So yeah, Houston, I think was a great team. Just turnovers at the end of the game just really cost them. And yeah, I thought it was a great game.
Yeah, I thought it was a good game too. Any game that comes down to the last possession is a good game in my eyes, especially
Yep.
for a championship game. And I thought Houston came out and played with a lot of energy. They're riding that high of beating Duke, as they should. They should have all the momentum in the world after a game like that. And I thought they rode it as long as they could, but eventually the Gators showed that they were the better team and turned it on like they've been doing all bracket long, all season long.
Yep.
And won the game, and I think that they're the better team. I will say I feel awful for that guy on
Ugh,
Houston that
I don't remember his name.
what's his name again? Do you know
Yeah,
remember his name?
I can't
Uh,
remember it.
yeah,
No,
but
but just
absolutely brutal.
TikTok's been going crazy about him.
Yeah, poor guy's gonna have to live with that the rest of his
So
life. But
sad. I know, I
they have
know.
nothing to be ashamed of. You beat Duke to get into the final. Everyone had Duke winning. Like I don't care. People from
Yeah,
Houston probably had Duke winning that game. So they have nothing to hang their heads on. They fought so hard throughout that game. Like you said, turnovers did get a little sloppy towards the end there, but it's college basketball. That's what happens in these March Madness games.
yeah.
So they have nothing to hang their head on. I know that they view it as otherwise, but they played hard. Gators were the better team, and yeah, I thought it was a good championship game.
Yep.
All right, now for the first time on this show's history, we're going to be talking about the NHL, and that is because Alexander Ovechkin has passed Wayne Gretzky for the all-time scoring record. Mason, I just want to get your thoughts on that real quick.
Yeah, you watch probably more hockey than I do, but regardless to what we usually watch, the other three sports, it's not even close. So I know if you're just a sports fan, you know how great Wayne Gretzky is, and for someone to
Hmm.
even get close to or pass a record of his, notice how I said a record just because of how many he has. It's undeniably just a great feat. Ovechkin has been great for a very long time, and I think he's finally getting his flowers as far as the accomplishments he's made. I can't remember, but I think he does have a championship. So, yeah, just really great to see a guy like him that get this record.
Yeah, I agree. I think it's huge for the sport. It's getting a lot of eyes on it. I think NHL has done a great job this year of getting eyes on their sport. Between this
Yeah,
happening and that tournament they did for their All-Star
absolutely.
break thing that they did, got a lot of eyes on the sport. So I think they're doing a really good job this year of getting new viewers. And this is like the equivalent of when LeBron James passed Kareem Abdul-Jabbar for the scoring title. It's just great to see for the sport. These are records that you'll never know if you'll be able to see again in your lifetime. These are once in a
Hmm.
lifetime records that are being broken. And my dad was very happy about it because obviously he grew up playing hockey and big, huge Wayne Gretzky fan. And, Wayne Gretzky showed so much class to
Oh yeah.
Ovechkin. So it was a very good passing of the torch moment. And yeah, it's good for the sport of hockey. And there is one question that I want to ask because it's a lot of conversation. I personally have my own thoughts on this. I feel like there's some things in sports that don't need to be
I know
debated, and this
exactly
is
what
one
you're
of
gonna
them.
ask.
But ESPN
Yeah.
had this segment where they're saying whose feet was better, LeBron breaking the scoring record or Ovechkin. I personally think this is just two completely different things, but I want to get your opinion.
Yeah. I mean, I'd have to say LeBron's is greater just because of how many games had to have been played and just the amount of scoring that's had to be done. And it's not like he's just, you know, been doing scoring. So I will say that a lot of people were saying that is Ovechkin now the GOAT because they didn't know hockey too well. I don't know hockey too well, but I do know that he's not even close to the GOAT debate just because of not only how many goals you know, Wayne Gretzky wasn't a goal scorer, which I heard. He was more of a pass to assist, an assister. Um, so to be able to do that and so many other things, just like LeBron did, he's got so many other records that need to be broken. I do think that the all-time LeBron scoring record is a lot harder, I think, of a record to beat than the goal scoring, but that might just be my lack of knowledge. So I don't know.
Yeah, like you said, I'm not too knowledgeable on hockey, so it's kind of hard for me. And like I
Yeah,
said, I think some things in sports don't need to be debated. I think that
it's
what
just too
LeBron
hard to
did is what
compare.
LeBron did, and what Ovechkin did is what Ovechkin did, and they're both
Way
amazing
too hard
feats
to
that we'll
compare.
probably never see again. But the one thing is, that I think there's two arguments to each side. The one argument to LeBron
Yeah,
is he did
absolutely.
it in like 200 games less than what Kareem Abdul did, which is just insane. Like he beat that
Mhm.
record. So when Ovechkin did it on the same amount of games, I think, as Gretzky did.
Yeah.
But then you look at the Ovechkin side. Ovechkin's played 20 seasons and has missed 35 games, and he was playing on a broken leg earlier this season. So just an
Wow.
absolute workhorse and as tough as nails. So these are like two just amazing athletes, and I don't think there's a correct answer to this debate personally. But
Absolutely
like
not.
you said, I think when LeBron did the scoring record, it kind of led him to being that GOAT. Like he became the GOAT of the NBA.
Yeah,
Like that cemented it. And
solidified
like
it.
you said, Ovechkin, I wouldn't really say he's the GOAT of the NHL. I mean, maybe I don't know
No.
enough about it, but you know, I think both are amazing feats. They're once in a lifetime records that you'll see broken. So, yeah, it's good for hockey.
Yep.
All right, and now finally we're gonna slide into the last part of the news, which is UFC 314, a big card coming up this weekend over in the city of Miami. And we're just going to go over the co-main and the main event and give our predictions. We'll start with the co-main. We have Michael Chandler versus Patty Pimblett. Shout out to Patty Pimblett, who was at the Heat game last night too.
Yeah, I'm a big Patty guy. I've always been a big Patty guy, and I honestly think he'll win. He just, I think, has the drive, and for him to be in a position where he is, I think if he gets this win, he'll absolutely, hopefully, get a title shot. Um, and he's just been consistent, with Chandler, he was waiting on McGregor's porch step for what, like 3 or 4 years. So it's
Mhm.
kind of hard to defend that and say that he'll be able to beat a guy like Patty who's just been around the fighting game for so like often.
Yeah, this is without a doubt Patty Pimblett's toughest opponent yet.
Yeah.
Chandler's an absolute dog. We saw in his last fight, even though he was losing, he was fighting all the way till the end of that fight.
Yep.
And I think
Yep.
without question, this fight's going to go the distance. But I also
Yeah.
have Patty Pimblett winning. I'm going to go with the fresher blood, the younger guy. I think he's more hungry than Chandler is. I think he really wants to get a title shot. And I think with this win, he can have a chance at a title shot. And yeah, so I'm going to go with Patty Pimblett. I think it's going to be a very entertaining fight, and I'm interested to see how it plays out. But my heart's telling me to go with Patty Pimblett as well. All
Yeah.
right, now we're going to
To
head
get
to
it
the
on record,
main event. Oh yeah, go ahead.
I'm just gonna do Patty by decision. Yep.
Okay, all right. I think I'm leaning the same way.
Yeah.
All right, now we're gonna head to the main event, which is kind of tough on the both of us because we love both these fighters so much. But we got Alexander Volkanovski and Diego Lopez fighting for the belt. Who do you have winning this battle?
It's a very tough pick, you know. I don't know if I'm gonna say I hate to say it, but I'm just excited to watch this fight. Because no matter who loses, I'm gonna have like sympathy for the guy. But I want to see Lopez win. I've just
Mm.
been high on him for as long as he's been fighting. I think that it is a time to turn the page and let the young guys kind of prosper. But on the other
Wow.
side, Volk is, a legend. He's one of the best in the division, and he's dealt with guys like this before, and he's been doubted. So it could really swing either way. I'd love to see the young guy Diego get it. So yeah,
I was not expecting you to go with the whole turn the
dude,
page
I don't
thing.
know.
I know
I
you're a
know.
huge Volk guy. That shocked me.
I am.
Man.
I am. Yeah,
Um, yeah, when I look at this fight, it's hard to like pick a side. I don't think I'm gonna pick a side. I think I'm just gonna enjoy the
that's
fight and
fair.
whoever wins wins.
Yeah.
If I'm leaning towards one though, I am gonna lean towards Volkanovski. I think that he was very hard on himself after that Taporia loss, and I think that he really wants to redeem himself and get one last title under his belt, so to speak. No pun intended. Um,
Mhm.
and I think that Volk's going to win. Diego Lopez is going to be in the UFC for a long time, and he's going to have a lot of
Yeah.
opportunities to, have a title. I would just love to see Volk win one last time. But Lopez is such a good fighter. He's just amazing, and I wouldn't be surprised at all if he wins by any means. I think I'm just going to kind of sit back and enjoy this fight and watch it for what it
Yeah.
is.
Either way, I'm happy about the outcome.
Right.
It's a very tough decision to make, and I do love when the young guys win. So we'll
Yeah.
see. I'm gonna
And
go. Just for the record, I'll go. I'll say it goes the distance, and Lopez will win by decision.
All right, I'll go with Volk by round 5 knockout. Let's make it
Wow.
interesting.
Okay.
We'll go
Yeah,
interesting.
yeah.
Why not? Yeah, I think that's pretty much it. I don't think we have anything else planned today, right, Mason?
Time for my most favorite segment. Tell
Oh
them about it,
boy.
Grant.
Yes, the last segment of the day. We're going to be going into trivia, my least favorite segment. Mason's going to be giving me 6 trivia questions, so just go ahead and start.
Yep, yep. So let's see. We'll start with the Heat.
Okay.
Which player scored the most points in a game in Heat history?
I feel like I'm going to overthink this. Isn't it LeBron?
Yep. Yes, it
It was like
is.
60 something,
61
right?
points. Yeah,
61, right?
61 points versus Charlotte Bobcats 24.
Okay.
All right. 1 for 1. This one might be a little harder, but if you got the knowledge, you got it. How many finals appearances has Udonis Haslam been
Oh
in
boy.
with the Heat?
7?
That's close.
8?
Uh, 6.
6? 6? I was thinking
Yep.
6, 7. I was like 6 or 7. I don't know why I said 8.
It's
Um,
06, 11, 12, 13, 14, 20.
okay, right. I always forget the
All right.
21, dude.
I know. I know. Okay. So, on to the Cubs. I think you'll get both of these. What Cub hit the go-ahead home run in Game 7, 16 World Series?
Like which game?
World Series.
Yeah, which game in the World Series?
Game 7. I said Game 7.
Go ahead home run or go ahead hit?
It says go-ahead home run. That's what
Well,
ChatGPT says. You
Raji
know how
Davis
they
hit a
be
go
messing
ahead
us
home run
up.
against us, but then Zobrist hit a go ahead double in the extra or later innings.
Um, it says David Ross.
Oh
ChatGPT
yeah,
might have
David
got us
Ross
again.
earlier in the game. I thought you meant like late
It
stage of the
says go
game, like
ahead. I
yeah,
don't
at the
I don't
time it
know.
was
It
a go
just
ahead.
says
I think it was like around the 5th inning. He came in because John Lester came out of the
ah
bullpen
yeah,
and
I don't
hit a
know.
home run. Yeah, at the time of the
Okay.
game, it was go ahead, but it wasn't like ultimately what led to the win.
Okay. Well, we'll avoid that question then, just because it'd be selling us.
That's all right.
What team eliminated Cubs from playoffs 2017? I believe it was the NLCS.
Oh,
I
I remember the
believe.
year before was the Mets. The year before 2016 was the Mets. The year after, I think it was. Hmm. It wasn't the Cardinals, was it? I don't think it was the
Nope.
Cardinals. If it wasn't them,
They're
was it
still
the
a very good
Giants?
team to this. Nope, nope. They're still a very
Dodgers?
good team to this day. Yeah, yeah,
I knew it was the NL West team. Okay, yeah, Dodgers.
yeah,
Sorry.
yeah. Okay, you got that one. All right, on to the Dolphins. I went very recent for these. So,
Okay, thank you.
which Dolphins O lineman was selected to the 23 Pro Bowl?
Oh boy. I would say probably the only one that was
Don't
any good.
overthink it. Don't
Armstead.
overthink it. Yeah, yeah.
All right, shout out
I
Armstead who
was
just
thinking
announced
you're
his
about to
retirement.
go
By
to
the way.
some. Yeah, facts. I thought you were about to go to some like center or some random center or
No, no.
something.
Saying is we only have one good offensive lineman. It was pretty simple.
Okay. What running back led the rushing yards in 22 season?
22. Oof.
Yeah, yeah. I
Well,
want you to think a little bit.
did I watch them
Might
in
not have
22
to
or did
though.
I start in 23? I think
No,
I
you
started
watched
in
them
22.
22 because that was
I
the
think I watched in
Bills. That
22.
was the Bills playoffs.
Right. So it would have been Mostert,
That was
right?
that year. Yep, yep. I think that was
Okay.
his first year with you guys.
Right. That's what I thought. Yeah.
Yeah. Nice. So that was good. You got pretty much all of them, other than the one that ChatGPT messed up. But yeah,
That's all right. That
cool.
it's all right.
That's a
You know,
hard question to,
ChatGPT.
like, phrase.
It was weird because, like, when I think go ahead, I think like late stages of the game. That was
Well,
like
yeah,
towards the
like
middle
8th,
stages of
ninth
the
inning.
game. Right. Yeah,
Yeah,
exactly. Which that was Rajay Davis hitting it off of Aroldis Chapman. And then Ben
okay.
Zobrist in the later innings, hit the go ahead double.
Hit the hit.
And that's how we
Yeah,
won.
okay.
But all right.
That makes sense.
Well, that's going to pretty much wrap up this episode. Thank you guys for tuning in to this week's episode of GM Sports Report, where every play counts. Please make sure to like, comment, and subscribe to be able to see our weekly episodes on all things sports. For additional content, check the description to see links to our Instagram and TikTok account. This is Grant and Mason. Sign off for now. Have a great week, everybody.
Thank you, guys.